Friday edition of the Ultimate Endgamers League. It is season number 9, and they say Friday nights for fighting, and that's just what we'll do. Because one of these days, these UEL boots are gonna walk all over you. I've got one question, and one question only. Are you ready? Because it's time to break forth the rhythm and the rhyme. It's time to put the kids to bed and wake up the neighbors. And it is time to get down like a clown like Charlie Brown and turn your frown upside down. It's time for the UEL to shine. So what do you say we get down to that UEL beatdown?
Hey, log in, engage, we lit the squadron.
Oh, here we go.
There's so many games out this period that a lot of people never really experience, so they get stuck in their college view. But
another person that is defined as a person that pushes past just beating the game and instead completes the game. As you guys know.
Did you miss it? All right. So they went ahead and did a timeout.
I got lockdown on my team, man. What do you want me to do, bro? I need help. Mike needed Scotty. Carolina Reapers go back to back on the strength of Jekyll. Traded, journeyman, expect.
Had like pros.
I'd probably say 10K.
Your boys, no rush. Ultimate Endgamers League, so tough. Go capture that trophy, you can't win enough. It's the UEL, 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 UEL. This is the Ultimate Endgamers League. The Grand Rapids and out overseas. You don't got a clue, come and get up to speed.
Hello, and welcome back to the Friday edition of the UEL. I'm Strix, joined here by Napkin, one of the players for the Myrtle Beach Blaze. How you doing today?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
yes, it's good to be here. Now I got to ask immediately, what games you looking forward to? You playing the Ravens? I know you
games I'm looking forward to.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it. Always Street Fighter. Street Fighter is one of my favorite games to play, and I'm actually really looking forward to Maelstrom. I'd like to play Maelstrom.
Maelstrom.
I enjoy Maelstrom. Like, and Maelstrom is fun to me. I like Maelstrom.
Crazy. I feel like the fighters love strategy as well because we just get the chance to cook a little bit. Okay, so games you want to play, is there anybody you want to specifically play against on the other side?
I don't really know.
Okay, so you're just looking to go out, throw hands, shoot rockets, explode, blow everything?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
How has your rookie season been so far? How are you enjoying yourself?
I've been having fun, definitely, but I've definitely also had a lot of mishaps, like just the nerves getting to me. Like I've had my last 2 games, like I've misset my buttons, I've unplugged stuff, and that stops. But like the nerves are starting to go away. It's starting to. I feel like I can actually start playing that.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. I gotta ask the question because I think the people at home might not know. Where's the name Napkin come from?
It spiraled. So I used to play Apex with my friends a lot, and I enjoy playing off of people. Like when I have somebody who can go facilitate and do what they need to do, I will play off of them. They don't got to say much to me. And my friends used to call me Mr. Off Angle because I would always be on an off angle. I'd always be doing something else. And then that just turned into anytime they would go down, I would come in and clean it up. So they just started calling me Napkin. Okay. And then I've just made it the UEL name. Okay, that's what's up. I love to hear it. So I want to send it on over back to the floor, but this has been Napkin from the Myrtle Beach Blaze here to clean up those DC Ravens. So we'll see you at game time.
If he loses this now, I don't even know. All right, calm down, TOG. You just lost to him. Calm down. Stay focused, bro. Stay focused.
Going great on his trail. Right now, hunting down from the Bandits.
Oh,
and there again, and that one goes in there, taking this one away. It's 5-2. The first half is really starting to go their way.
Yes, it is. Definitely. Yes, this could be a runaway. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with Vape from the Ravens. Now, I have heard that you are a bit of a sports player, no?
Yep.
Okay, I
love
like
playing
that.
them.
I like that. Now, I heard the Blaze are pretty good at sports games. How do you feel that you sort of fare against them as, them having a few sports? Do you think that you can overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the matchup's really good. They got strong sports players. They got Hollywood, they got Milk. I'm really looking forward to playing them in like NHL, NCAA 2K. I want to see what I can do against Milk. I saw his last game. I've been watching him.
Okay. Now, has the Ravens done any scouting in terms of just trying to find more synergy within the team?
Yeah, so every time we have someone that we have to play, we always watch all their previous VODs.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's the last game all the way to the first game. We'll watch every single one of them, see what they do, see who goes in, see what maps they're running. We want to watch everything, especially when it comes to like NCAA. I will sit there and pause and watch every play they select and watch all the formations for it.
Okay, I like that. Now, today, in terms of all the games that are on the wheel, we're talking 33 games within UEL. What game are you looking to tackle the most? What do you want to play the most out of those 33 games? So just be honest about it.
So I'm not going to give the generic answer everyone wants to see.
Okay.
Everyone's going to say, oh, he's going to pick a sports game. No, I want to play Valorant. I've been practicing Valorant.
Okay.
And I want people to see what I can do because what you saw last time is not what I do now.
Okay. Any specific hero?
We'll leave that as it is. I don't want someone watching this and spreading it out.
Little strategy.
I got
like
two
that.
that I can play.
I like that. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to give us a little bit of info.
Yes, sir.
Back to you guys.
Did you know poor posture while gaming can cause serious neck and shoulder pain? Meet the Volare Pillow. This pillow is designed specifically for gamers. It gives your neck and shoulders the support they need, reduces strain, and helps you sit comfortably for hours. It's extra comfy and hey, you can even pick your style. It comes in rare, legendary, and epic levels. Match it with your setup by choosing from a variety of colors and designs. Don't wait for the next ache to hit. Level up your comfort with Volare. Use code UEL15 at checkout for 15% off your order. Grab yours today and feel the difference in your next gaming session.
If he loses this now, I don't even know. All right, calm down, TOG. You just lost to him. Calm down. Stay focused, bro. Stay focused.
Going great on his trail. Right now, hunting down that kill from the bandits.
And there.
And that one goes in there, taking this one away. It's 5-2. The first half is really starting to go their way.
Yes, it is.
This could be one away.
Welcome back to the UEL. It is a Friday game. The Myrtle Beach Blaze going up against the DC Ravens. My name is Strix. I'm joined here by Mob. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good. I'm sure many of the viewers yesterday saw that. Yesterday was my first day on the job. I was here with Speedy, but I am excited about today in general, just to really get to know these teams, get to know these players, and examine a lot more of the games that are within the UEL, library of games. We got 33 games that we're going to be playing. What can you tell me about the two teams that we're going against, or that we're commentating over today? Any specific players you're looking to sort of stand out?
So I got to turn my eyes to the Blaze first and foremost. They're still looking for that second win here in the UEL, but their Tier 1 Hollywood is arguably a Finals MVP level player. Was with the championship team for a super long time.
Okay.
And I think he's been the catalyst for this entire team when they find success.
Right. I like that. So I've heard that there's a lot of these sports players that are on the Blaze, correct? A lot of sports players on Blaze. We just talked about that. Any games that you see sort of being fair between the two of these teams within the sports genre?
I've heard a lot about Milk Zolo, so I want to see Milk Zolo versus Vape in NCAA. Both of them apparently are like really big football heads.
Right.
They love the game. And I think that would be probably the closest matchup today. I think we're going to be getting into RPS, though, to cover the start of the game. Okay, so we're still getting set up, so we'll be jumping to that.
I like that. Now, last season we had Madden, correct? And this season we have NCAA.
Yes.
Any particular things that the viewers can sort of pick up on in terms of a difference between those games?
I think the big thing, funnily enough, reflects the real life. So players are able to individually make plays. So you'll see a lot more quarterback scrambling and getting a lot more big yardage and something like NCAA. But at the same time, the nerves of maybe being in a loud stadium, the game even has that built in. We'll mess with those quarterbacks maybe when they're throwing. Maybe people don't run routes as precisely. So there's a little bit more flexibility in the openness of play.
Nice.
But that also gives room for good players to make. We've already seen safeties this season. We've seen kickoffs run back for touchdowns.
Wow, really?
Tons of interceptions. It's a really hard game to predict, but the people that really play it.
I love that. Special teams. I like that.
You mentioned it being your now second cast. What games do you want to see today?
Games I want to see, obviously I'm a big fan of shooters. Yesterday it was interesting to analyze. You can definitely tell certain players aren't familiar with what I'm assuming is the more popular genre, fighting games and shooters. I just want to see a little bit of that going on.
That'd be great. All right, popping over to RPS, rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to get control of this game. Lock down and pass the Herbs here. The owner of the Ravens on the right, and then this GM here for the Blaze. Tied up. Both go rock this time. And finally, Lockdown takes control of the game for his team. This will give them that choice to, you'll see our first wheel spin of the day, to either put this game back and play something else, maybe it's something they don't want to see, or to go ahead and take control of the game and set it up themselves. Okay. So it looks like we are grabbing that Dead by Daylight? Dead by Daylight.
We didn't get to watch that yesterday.
Yeah, unfortunately.
A little bit of a situation went down yesterday for everyone watching.
It was a fun game. It was a fun game, but today both these teams like and have people that enjoy DBD. So I expect that we should get this chance to see it. We do see the setup timer. Go ahead and pop.
I love that.
So you were mentioning shooters are what you want to see, and how players aren't familiar. I think that's what makes the league so unique, right? What we do here is we are collectively. You have to master all 5 of those genres across those 33 games, and so. Well, when you catch a fighter player on a shooter, sometimes, the bots played last night, but we have plenty of bots here in the league occasionally.
That's true. What I will say, though, is I think there is sort of a parallel between shooters and fighters, both in regards to reaction time and precision. I see a lot of that, and I know that you have a little bit of a fighting game background, so the ability to sort of react to action or just sort of movement that happens within your peripheral vision, little movement you see over a ledge within a window or something, being able to snap your reticle over to that spot, pick up a kill or something along those lines. It's almost the sort of the same instinct that you have when you're picking up on a read. All it takes is a sort of a little bit of a shift, within a fighting game when you're playing footsies, when you're playing that range, potentially when you're even faking a zoning attack, something along those lines, being able to pick up and read the pattern of behavior of your opponent is key to victory. That's particularly why I like fighting games and shooters, but the fact that we have 3 other categories, some of which, Dead by Daylight, sure is a strategy game, but there's also a lot of things like aggression, right? Going after the generators, you're gonna obviously see that. People are gonna be taking big risks. That also coincides with some of the sports games that we play, right? Taking a big risk on a Hail Mary pass to the end zone, something along those lines. Which one of these teams do you think are going to be the risk takers?
Of these 2 teams, I have to look once again at the Blaze. It's not the Ravens are, to me, this stable team. They know what they want to do. They will get hype and they will push the envelope. But if you're talking about the confidence to just take a 1 in a million gamble, it's gonna be the Blaze. They're a team comprised now of 3 rookies and 3 veterans, and these veterans come from a team, the Reapers, specifically Hollywood and Garto, that was known to be in your face, to be aggressive, to be willing to take chances, and to trust their teamwork to carry them through. The big thing, unfortunately, so far is this season is you do have 3 rookies. You're coming against such a veteran lineup time and time again that's a little bit more difficult.
Now, in terms of the rookies, do we know where they're from in terms of the area? I'm just curious.
Some of them, I know most are relatively local to the DC, Maryland, Virginia
area.
So
East Coast. East Coast. The reason why I ask is there's certain games like Smash Brothers and what have you. You get East Coast players, West Coast. East Coast players are aggressive, man. They have a little bit of attitude, wear their emotion on their shoulders a little bit, if you will. I love seeing that.
So we will see that today. Funnily enough, the Tier 1 on the Ravens, KIC, up until September of this year, is a SoCal native.
Okay.
And so he flew out here, got this Tier 1 spot. But he has brought a very different energy, I think, than some people. Some people, maybe have expected. He is a fighting game player. He does have his own, but he plays everything. Obviously, sitting in that Tier 1 spot, being the kind of carry for his team. But at the same time, he's never going to be somebody that's quiet. He's never going to be somebody that shies away from any of this. So we got 45 seconds left on this setup timer. What the setup timer essentially meant was that the Blaze got their option of whether they wanted to play Killer or Survivor, or they can pick the map if they feel super comfortable doing so. I want to give a shout out to the Ravens. They seem to have picked it up since their last game because literally they played DBD in their first game, their last game. Ended up losing it at the beginning of their last one, but it looks like they're going with a different lineup, maybe experimenting and finally realizing like this is what we should be doing and how we should be moving.
Okay, now following the rock, paper, scissors, right? Whoever wins that gets set up, correct? And does the opposing team then get to choose the map, in particular on DBD?
Yes. So the way we balance out setup is if you set up the game, you have to get the lobby up, get everybody in there. But you are then given first choice of those options.
Okay.
So my guess is going to be that the Blaze were like, hey, we want to go ahead and take Killer. We feel really strong on Killer. I think that's where we're able to play. And then they gave control of the map over to the Ravens. So now the Ravens, and this is about that well-roundedness, starting off with an early timeout, but choosing to call it is always a good thing. Maybe getting their build together. DBD does have a little bit of depth where you have.
Yeah, there's a level of depth and there's a level of strategy, particularly on like some maps are a little bit more lighted than others. It's a little bit more difficult to get around. Depending on the perks that you're using, there may be a little bit of sort of black smoke or fog that, sort of riddles throughout the entire map. Building strategies around that is super important. We talked a little bit about certain perks that these players might be using yesterday before we had our matchup between the Paladins and the bots. Is there any perks that you think, or any certain play styles, maybe, or perks that you think are going to be on display throughout this match?
I want to see, and a lot of people in the league, we haven't seen Napkin play in the league just yet. So I don't know his exact play style, but a lot of people tend to run early game aggression. They want to go ahead and put the pressure on the survivors. If the survivors end up losing a player or two super early on, then you end up putting yourself in a position where instead of the 4v1 that the game is initially balanced around, you're trying to maybe have one or two people dodge this really strong killer. Beyond that, killers, if they're smart, run gen regression. So there are ways to allow you to work on these generators to unlock the doors, but the killer has ways to take that progress array, slow the generator down,
of course,
and in turn force you to take more time, at the very least, to get out of the game.
Now,
so that's what I hope to see.
I'm wondering, throughout this process, there's certain teams that feel, like you said, they feel a little bit more comfortable being a killer, whereas sometimes a team will synergize well enough that they're super confident just playing the survivors. The hardest part, though, about playing the survivors, your teammates are, for lack of a better term, they're going to get got at some point, right? They're going to be putting on a hook at some point in one way or another. And are you going to take the risk to go get that person off that hook? How often are you going to go do those things? That's going to be interesting to see them taking those risks, dependent upon, the environmental awareness of whoever is playing the killer.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. I think, and my hope is going to be as we pop into the game here, Petrified Oak is popping up. So this specific offering here, it makes the hooks farther apart. So there's a greater chance that you can wiggle off the shoulder.
Right.
You see that Napkin taking the opposite side of that to make sure they're not as far apart as they possibly could be. He counters that a little bit just to make sure that, hey, I'm not running 30 meters to try to put somebody on a hook. They're still relatively close to each other. But to your point, I think that's where the Ravens are going to have to show out today and show some of that familiarity. A lot of these Ravens players were on this team last season.
Correct.
And so hopefully they've developed that communication, that synergy that you were kind of hinting at. The survivors need to be able to say, like, oh, no, he left the hook to come get me. So we see him playing the Trapper here, and as a fitting name here, he puts down these bear traps. So you see him immediately running around and setting them in these tight areas.
Almost rotation routes.
Yes. So that when he gets into chase with people, if you're not paying attention to where he is behind you and maybe the ground in front of you, you hit a trap and he gets a pretty easy capture. It looked like he's already found a player, though, to start off the game, which is good for him. But this player seems smart enough not just running forward and manages to catch him with a pallet to start off the entire game.
I like that. I like the way he actually, as this Trapper killer, I like the way that he actually strafed sideways. He didn't keep his eye necessarily on the survivor. He was also watching his peripherals. The same way he sort of abandoned that survivor right there. You don't want to spend too long hunting after somebody that may be not even remotely close to a generator, because you are wasting your time sometimes, especially at the start of this.
And you hit it perfectly on the head. In the time that he spent finding a person, chasing them for just a few seconds, one of the 5 generators they need to get out of the map has already popped, and now he's into another chase. And again, this player drops the pallet and is using these long walls, these long distances, to make it so it's not easy.
Absolutely. Now, he does elect to break the barricade a little bit here. That's going to make it a little bit more difficult for the survivor to play sort of what I like to call a ring around the rosy tactic. Typically, if you have any type of like quick rotation route corridor, doorways, that car that you saw them rotating around there. They can kind of continuously circle that. Wasting time from the killer. Gets one slash. She's going to be hurt, bleeding out a little bit.
But
let's see if he's going to commit to it.
That spacing. He gets the hit, and immediately, this is past her, the gray camera you see on the bottom of your screen. We are watching Napkin, that lit up one on the top. But immediately using the speed boost from that hit to get a little bit more space and to keep himself as safe as possible, even while being chased.
Yeah, manipulating the shadows of this map because it is slightly lighted with the moonlight and just sort of the lighting effect within this game engine. So you can actually seize another victim here. Let's see if he can pick up on this. He's getting close. Let's see, she doesn't have much to rotate. Oh, she jumps over the barrier. Is she going to continue to rotate around this?
But immediately another generator pops, so
it's true.
KIC, the tier 1, and he leaves them once again. This is that same survivor. He keeps running to them, seeing them, and realizing, like, okay, I think that he's trying to bait me, trying the whole time, but finding I am the herd here.
She puts down the barrier. Oh, makes a mistake by going to the left side of the barrier as opposed to just continuously going. He reads it perfectly as his first victim. Let's put her on a hook.
And I have to be happy here. This is what you want to see if you are a Blaze fan. You do not want too many of these, and it looks like immediately walking away, KIC keeps being like, hey, chase me, just come over and chase me. But now he's taking the time. He walked away.
Yeah,
after
takes his time.
And ends up getting that first hook, so that's one state. If Pastar gets hooked 2 more times, he's out of the game forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. I didn't quite see it, but there might have been a little bit of wiggle manipulation, if you will, right there, just because the movement of, this is Napkin, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the movement of Napkin right there was a little bit stifled, if you will. He didn't get to that hook as fast as he probably would like to. That's giving the other survivors on the map just a little bit more time, even if it's by fractions of a second, to complete these generators, get the lights turned on, and get out of here.
And there's only one generator left. That means that he now has to cover this entire map at all times. He has to be aware of all 4 of these survivors. They already went ahead and grabbed Herb off the hook as well. So all 4 of them are back in play. And you can see how far these last 3 generators are apart. He's just trying to find it down. He needs any amount of pressure here to keep control of this game.
Yeah, almost like a mouse in a maze at this point. If you look at like where all of the trees are, where the fence lines are, he's sort of strafing along these vertical paths, looking for even a slight bit of movement. Obviously, he's picked up on some movement here, going to head inside the house. The problem with this house is the number of rotations outside of windows, basements, upstairs, things of that sort. It's very difficult to keep track. And you guys can keep track of where these survivors are heading by these scratch marks that you see on your screen. They sort of leave a trail, if you will, just like you see here, reddish-orange scratch marks. Steps in his own trap that he's set at the start of the match.
It's so hard. And as he steps in it, the last generator pops. I think he did really good to find people, but he wasn't able to find success in those chases. And the game just kind of ran away from him now. Just trying to maybe get this last down, get a kill, walk away with something of a consolation prize.
Now, during this phase, you might find if he's able to get at least a couple of them on a hook, he lands a shot there. If he's able to get a couple on the hook, the other ones might be spending so much time to escape that they don't actually save their fellow teammates. That might play into his favor, but he's in a lot of trouble right now.
I think the Ravens, though, knowing that they have 3 people to be able to get out here, are just committing to the win. You know, at home, we might want to be like, well, I'm not gonna leave you behind. I got to go back and get you. But here in the UEL, players are a little bit more cutthroat. Be like, hey, bro, sorry you got caught. That's not my problem. Perfect. And Roller Champs coming up next. I love this game. A chance to commentate it yesterday. Tell the people a little bit about Roller Champs, because you really you mentioned you love the game.
I'm going to be honest. I just recently started playing this game, but one of the things I love about Ubisoft in particular with their recent development is their ability to take risks, sort of making new genres of games. We've seen that with games like X-Defiant, Skull and Bones is a pirate game, and now we have Roller Champions, which is a roller skating basketball sports game.
Yeah, I think that's a...
If that's how you want to explain it, but how this is going to work, guys, is it's going to be 3-on-3 action, and there is a circular roller rink, if you will. Once a team picks up a ball, they essentially have to race at least one time completely around this track 360 degrees. Once they have finished one lap, there is a point that is eligible on the board for them to score. If they want to potentially score 2 or 3 points, they can race around that track an additional time, or maybe even 3 times, to score more points. The risk that you run, though, is if you get checked, shoulder checked, hip checked, if you drop the ball and your opponent picks up that ball, that eligible point is taken away from you. So what you're going to find is as they continue to race around this rink, the moment that they have a point available to score, they're going to go for it. But it's a lot more difficult than it seems. Shooting that basketball up, getting that score is not that easy.
And this is where the sports element of the game comes in, is really having the awareness of to coordinate with your team and to be like, oh, wait, should all three of us be right here on the ball? Should I be maybe looking for that pass down?
Yes.
It's super interesting, and that's why I'm happy to see Vape getting the opportunity to go in. But like we said at the start of the day, the Blaze are a sports team, so I expect them to have some practice in this and to hopefully control the game.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing that we haven't touched on just yet is DBD being our first game means that these rosters, even though they are both 6 people, will be desynced for the rest of the game.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you notice now Flying Kittens will not be able to go in for whatever comes next. For people at home, he will be grayed out until all the rest of his teammates have been used. But because they took Killer, the Blaze have the ability to pick exactly who they want beyond Napkin to go in for this game. So a little bit of maybe the mind games of UEL. This is something that players like Hollywood, you mentioned the bots yesterday, players like Billy do the best of playing the entirety of UEL, recognizing I need to win the majority of 33 games, not just the game in front of me all the time. How can I set myself up to maybe do both at the same time?
Yeah. Now, would you say that there's teams on either Blaze or Raven that you think would work really well together? Because I want to say Roller Champions is a game that requires a lot of teamwork. So when you have the ball and you are racing around the track trying to get that eligible point to score, your teammates, your opponents, they don't necessarily have to be right behind you. Some of them can split off, go the opposite way around the ring, and try to shoulder check you, try to knock that ball out of your hand in order to reset the point. That requires a lot of communication. So are there 2 players, maybe a couple of players within this that we've seen work well together, do you think?
Hollywood and Garto. These are 2 players coming from that Championship Reapers team once again that I think should be playing the best together. Everybody going into this game, yes, they're bringing along a rookie, but everyone going into this game, specifically the 2 of them have the most time played together. This game has been on the wheel before, so they've played as teammates before, and I have to believe that the 2 of them also love sports games. So
this is Roller Champs' first season?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it might have been on the wheel like 2 or 3 seasons. But again, this is the veteran. That's the veteranness of this lineup. They might have been here, but like, oh yeah, we saw this game a couple of seasons ago. I kind of remember how to play it.
And it does have like simplistic mechanics. I mean, listen, you're grabbing a ball and you're trying to get around this ring to get that eligible point, shoot it up into the basket, and score a point. The complexity comes into play with the momentum of the skates itself. If any of you have ever rollerbladed at home, I'm sure the same way you grew up, the way I did, we all had to use, or at least train a little bit on our rollerblades in gym class.
Yes.
I think we all remember that. I was the awkward kid that did not want to put them on, but we've all been there. We understand the momentum of, there are sort of ramps, if you will, on the side of this rink that sort of come up. It's going to be really important for some of them to pick up speed. There's certain tactics, an uppercut maneuver, if you will, to where you can get at the bottom of the turning point of the ring. If you do an uppercut at that turning point, you can fly up into the air, which is going to give you speed momentum down it and shoot you across the sort of straight corridor, if you will, of that ring and allow you to catch up to a player with a ball. Utilizing slingshot mechanics, uppercut mechanics, sort of surfing the walls of this ring, if you will, is going to be the difference maker, in my opinion.
I think you hit it on the head. I can tell you've done so much of your research because that is what makes a good Roller Champs player. The player that's able to basically, regardless of where the ball is, stay in motion, constantly stay in motion, maintain speed. Because at the end of the day, if I'm trying to shoulder check you, whether on rollerblades or not, if you're moving by me at 100 kilometers per hour, I'm not going to be able to easily be able to do it.
And there's a little bit of, I guess for lack of a better term, there's a little bit of like wonkiness with regards to like actually checking an opponent. You have to be within a certain sort of like frame zone of them, if you will. So it is difficult. So you're going to see them basically going counterclockwise while a racer goes clockwise, trying to just intercept them, if you will, and knock the ball out of their hands. But it gets ugly. You're going to see certain players. I've seen strategy. I think we saw a little bit yesterday on Blaze. I mean, not on Blaze, I'm sorry, on the bots. What we saw was one person would grab the ball, and the other 2 players were simply just aggression. They were offensive. They were constantly just trying to hit down their opponents and just free up space for the player with the ball.
If you can deal with someone trying to tackle me by tackling them first, I never have to worry about it as the ball runner. So let's see these 2 teams. We're watching Gardo, the tier 2, on the side of the Blaze here, and NCAA coming up next.
It's interesting. We just talked about that too.
And I believe Milk, Zolo, and Vape will be available for that game. So they got to cover this first sports games first. So let's hope that the Blaze aren't getting too ahead of themselves.
Here we go.
coming down the ring, immediately jumping up, kind of like you were highlighting, and building up this speed.
That's sort of those momentum physics that we talked about within this game engine that's being utilized here. You can already see them skating up. The ball is randomly dropped into the ring. Now, who are we looking at here in terms of blue team? Blue team's going to be Blaze, correct?
Blue, yes, it looks like it because Gardo is blue right there at the top of the screen.
There we go. Awesome.
Shout out. You can find that at home. If you're looking at that top left and right corner of your screen, it'll tell you where each team is as well. I had to take there for a second. That's the other thing about this game. This game is so fluid and moves so quick that keeping track of where you are and where your teammates are is one of those tricks that is important. But it looks like one player has already broken away and is looking to set up for an early score. Now, the question is, that's Hollywood, the tier 1. It ends up going a little bit high, but maybe setting himself up, kind of like you mentioned before.
Yep.
The immediate denial went for the risk of a few extra points and ended up losing all that progress they had made thus
And you can see the way they're shifting clockwise and counterclockwise. Solid pass right there. Every time they pass through these gates that you see, it unlocks a little bit of progress below the scoreboard that you see at the top of your screen, right underneath that 5-minute clock time. Now, in order to get a point eligible on the board, they have to fill up one of those 3 sort of metered bars that you see, and they get some of that every time they go through a gate. Now, it looks like the Blaze do have a point that is available for them to score, so he's going to try to get around to scoring this basket if he can, correct?
Yes, he is, and this would be a 3-point basket if they are able to put it in.
Oh, boy.
But it looks like they're going for the entire win on the game.
No, they are not. As you can see there, it's a little bit more difficult than it looks. You can't just shoot the J in this game. It's pretty hard. You've got all different sorts of speed, elevation, in terms of just where you're shooting this from. You can really throw it all the way down the court, or you can get right up next to the basket and essentially slam dunk it if you want to.
Yes, it ends up being... And for them, I think the Ravens are a little bit happy that he went ahead and threw that shot a little bit wide. Be going down by 3 points in this game.
Oh, that would be...
First to 5 game is a terrifying... is a terrifying moment, but it looks like the Ravens are finally finding their footing. This is Koza, their rookie.
I'd like to see a slingshot right here, just to pick up that momentum and then get the pass off after the slingshot. I think he's trying to. Oh, and we got our first goal.
There we go. The Ravens find the point there, and I love the approach there. This is something that a lot of teams have. When you asked me about aggression, who is going to go for the big plays, we already saw it from the Blaze, whereas the Ravens went, let's get our point on the board first, then we can maybe look for threes, as opposed to trying to chase that 3-point.
Yeah, it's hard, and I think a lot of that is going to be based off of, like, the accuracy of the checking going on, you know, on Blaze, but both Blaze and Ravens. If you're seeing a lot of tackles happening as opposed to just teams that are simply trying to skate around the ring, get those points available, go for it. If we're seeing a lot of aggression on these defensive tackles, then that's going to change the behavior in which we see points being scored.
Yes, it will.
There's that slingshot maneuver we just talked about. Now he's catching up.
Oh! Okay, this time it was recovered. I thought he whiffed another shot. That would have been a heartbreak if they had lost it. And it shows just how much confidence they do have in this game. They went down by a point and immediately were able to, actually choosing to skate by to maybe avoid a defender, because you can use that uppercut mechanic you mentioned to defend the goal if you do time it right.
You know what was really interesting right there was Blaze, they crossed through that gate, which made the point eligible, and then he turned around to shoot it into the basket. As opposed to being able to score it on the way to the gate, he passed the gate and then sort of just shot it backwards to score that point. That was actually really impressive.
Good awareness of the situation and what the safe play is.
Yeah,
I agree. So it looks like the Blaze have control of the ball again, and they look to take control of this game, but we see now Flying Kittens and teammates slingshotting off them, but the goal is already open.
Seems like the Blaze strategy seems to be they have one defender playing with the ball carrier. I've noticed that a good bit.
And they go for another shot. It ends up being a little bit wide. And speaking to what you were talking about, I think that is what one team, and a lot of teams have come to the conclusion of, is if you get that slingshot done well, having someone on either end to continuously slingshot and to continue the pace up, and to always have just one person ready to defend.
Yeah.
Because right now we see 6 people on the ball.
Yeah.
If the ball ever gets free, if someone just decides to maybe throw it down and get a little more space, it's going to be a race to who can get there first, as opposed to just having somebody there waiting and even making, a 3-on-3 play turn into a 2v2 or a 2-on-1. And you can really get good spacing can lead to open shots like this, and another whiff shot from the Blaze.
Now if they grab the ball, denied. Every time you see the denied text show up for those of you watching at home, every time you see that denied text, it basically eliminates the progress of that eligible point. Love seeing that Ravens just took that point away from them right there. That's the risk you run anytime you miss a shot.
And they're doing a great job at doing it. But I think that speaks to the aggression of the Blaze. We've seen so many orange denials because of how much control of this game the Blaze have had.
Now, who are we watching right here?
We're back on Gardo, who we started the game on with, and he's already sent it off to his teammate, and we see the Blaze once again picking up that momentum, skating back and forth.
Almost like a figure 8 pattern.
Yes. He jumps up the wall, ends up jumping a little bit too early. If they're able to get control of this ball, they can still score another point, but it's denied.
Had they have gotten that ball, they would have been able to just turn around and shoot it right into the hoop. That was a solid denial. Here's Gardo. Now he's got the ball, passes it to one of his teammates. Let's see if he does sort of that uppercut maneuver. No, he's going for the tackles, though, playing great defense, in a sense, for his ball carrier. I love seeing that.
So you see that especially on that first gate. There is a designated direction. You mentioned clockwise and counterclockwise. You can see these numbers on the ground as the players come down. So they have to cross this one first and then go the direction they are now to score. And so you see a lot of players, if you're aware of, like, distances, why am I going to run all the way around the ring if I can maybe sometimes cut back? But the risk there is it's a really predictable maneuver. And notice that's the tier 1 looking, and even though he gets hit, he puts his team in the lead.
The fadeaway jumper, if you will.
That
was incredible.
Is Hollywood for a reason. At the end of the day, he always wants to make it look good, takes the hit, but gets it in. Like you
puts
said,
on a show. I love that. He seems pretty experienced in the game. There's a lot of like just features within the game that you can tell which players are experienced. We looked at Gardo a second ago. One of the things I picked up on him was when you get knocked down in this game, you can actually press, I want to say it is your jump button. You're going to see it right there on the right side of your screen, that A button. Once you get knocked down, you can hit your A button in order to get up very quickly and also kind of maintain some of that momentum that you had prior to getting knocked down.
It shows to me, the term a lot of people in the league use is labbing, coming from fighting games, but a lot of people, where they spend their extra time, because we have 33 games, you can't play everything all the time. And the people that choose to lab something like Roller Champions, you can just working on that movement, understanding those mechanics you're talking about, of just being able to get up a little bit quicker is the difference between winning or losing. Now, the big thing here is that they can no longer use the ball. If the blue team touches the ball,
that's it.
We'll see.
They gave him a last chance, almost like an overtime, if you will, just that extra chance to get that ball in. But they got denied.
Luckily and hopefully the Ravens can clear it from their head. Vape can just put that one behind him because now he has to sit down, and it's going to be Rajane and Milk Zolo from the Blaze going up against him.
I really don't feel like they lost or they got any like negative energy from that. I really think that was a really good game between the two. I mean, we're talking 2-1 right there. They both were playing really well. So I don't think that got into their head in any way, shape, or form. Simple, straightforward sports game. Hey, it didn't go our way. Let's turn it around in the next.
I think the Ravens are very good about that. They've shown that momentum. I'm honestly more worried about the side of the Blaze. When you have 3 rookies, we heard it in the opening interview when I was talking to Napkin. He was kind of got in my own head. I kind of made some mistakes that I wouldn't normally make, and that ended up losing more games, and then it piles up. I know y'all were talking about this last night on the desk of the mental game is just important.
Oh my gosh.
Like how well you play in game, just keeping yourself in the game mentally can decide a lot of how this college football, for example, is going to
go. Not only that, I think as the weeks continue throughout the UEL, I think one of the difference makers you're going to see is even when certain teams fall behind on points, if they're able to utilize that remaining time that they have in real, you're on the court, right? The best practice is in the middle of a game. You can practice all week, but when it's game day, that's when you learn the most. So knowing that you're right here, you're in the arena, you're competing, what can you do right now that's going to help you for your next opponent? We don't even have to start talking about that right now, but I love the fact that we are seeing a lot of sports games already.
Yes.
We just talked about that, so it's kind of perfect.
It's so small, because I know these teams both care. These teams care about their sports. They want to be that top sports team. And I know Vape as a player has come in and been very outspoken since his rookie season last season of saying, no, I'm the best sports player in the league, not just the building, and is always looking to prove it. So whenever someone comes in, Milk Zolo.
Who is that again?
Milk Zolo, the tier 3 there on the Blaze. He was a player that was in the league a few seasons ago. He took a break, was out of the league for like 3 or so seasons.
Man, sometimes that is the best way to go about it, get that headspace, right?
Yes, but I've heard so many people talk about his sports talent. So we're seeing two of the heavy hitters both playing Alabama here in this college football. You asked for more sports.
No way. We just got another sports game. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. I promise this is not rigged. That is wild.
These two
All
teams.
right, here we go.
All
What
right,
teams
so
we got? We
we'll
got
see.
Alabama.
And Alabama. It looks like they
All
both
right,
have the
in the
same
dirty.
idea. And we have an early play. Was almost able to break away there. Ends up getting to the 30, so a little bit extra distance there, not doing the touchback. We'll find out here shortly who I have to believe that the quarterbacks on each side are already chosen. It's going to be Vape and it's going to be Milkzilla if I had to take a wild guess here. So the red jerseys are going to go ahead and be the Blaze. If you're at home rooting for them, you want to cheer and see that red touch the end zone. But on the other side, those white jerseys will be the Ravens trying to fly and take back the win and control of this game.
There we go. That's easy to recognize. Red for the Blaze. I like that. Let's see what kind of formations that they're...
and a quick and early play. Oh. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So, Blaze, the Ravens have been running a pretty interesting game. Blaze...
typically running?
Excuse me. They typically are willing to, and this comes to like the
they got a split
football,
back. I see
they're
that.
willing to run the ball. They're willing to commit to either option that they think will open it up.
Oh!
Early sack.
The sack coming out from the Blaze. And he's going to do a hurry-up offense here. He has a split back. It looks like he has a 3 wide receiver set. Potentially that tight end on the right side, but that tight end's probably going to block if I had to guess with this 3 wide receiver set, knowing that they just faced... couldn't tell if that was a blitz or if that was just a great lineman play. Now the tight end is going out. He's going for the scramble, but he's going to get caught again. Wow.
And that's a rough first drive, first possession of this ball for the Ravens. Instead, now we are going to be kicking it over to control of the Blaze. Let's see if Milk Zolo can maybe do a little more. Him running that defense. Great stop there. Didn't get too much progression, but him running that defense already has me impressed and shows that he really has an understanding of football. You were mentioning it while we were going there, like the different formations. He had a very good read on exactly where that ball was going.
Yeah, and it's going to be, one of the things that I want to see is what sort of develops as the meta within NCAA. It is a relatively new game. I can't speak for NCAA, but I know on Madden in particular, there tends to be formations that almost everybody uses, and particularly on strong teams like Alabama. Halfback split, goes for one of the just middle gaps and just gets choked off, really.
I think there maybe was this is the other thing about how we play it. Because we play it 2v2, sometimes your teammate ends up deciding a lot about how the game can grow. And kind of both teams with negative
rushing yards.
Maybe we do need to put the ball in the air a little bit more. Maybe just
try it.
Maybe. But it comes down to how we're all used to, if you've played Madden, if you've played college football, playing by yourself. But having someone else that maybe like that running play there, were you prepared to take the ball and hit the hole, or were you maybe just caught off guard by the play?
Yeah. Now I'm trying to see what type of defensive formation. We've talked about offense. Is he doing a cover 3 or a cover 2? One of those plays there had him actually blitzing. Yep. Solid. I mean, he got a couple yards gained, but that wasn't too bad. Okay, so I like the hurry-up offense. It forces the defense to sort of play off their back feet because they have a limited selection of the formations. That didn't work. If I had to guess, that could have been cover 2, just because of that defender playing in the flats the way that he did right there. You can also run cover 3 flats, but it's not as common.
And I want to highlight here something that has happened. So you asked me about formations, different player. Vape has this entire season been running nickel defense. He is just stuck with the nickel package as his primary difference. And when talking with him, he basically was like, no one really knows how to deal with it. No one knows how to handle it. This throw on the run ends up being a huge completion.
The scramble fade. I like that.
And I was worried going for it
was that
on
just
fourth.
a simple slant across the field? Wow. And sometimes it's the simple pass routes that are the most effective. Now, one of the things you're also going to see a lot with hurry-up offense is whoever's playing offense right now, it's the Blaze. They're going to be trying to read what the favored formation is of. We might get onto the 1 yard line. So you're going to start picking up on a pattern of behavior, right? We talked about that earlier in terms of what formations they like running, and then you basically want to manipulate that to your advantage. For instance, if you're running a cover 2, the sidelines typically are going to be wide open. If you're running a cover 3, oftentimes the flats will be open. So some of the shorter routes could be really advantageous depending on what this offense is reading.
So I'm going to ask you here, what do you think? We
got
see
a simple
both the
eye
defenders.
Oh, a QB sneak for the touchdown. I honestly thought that was going to be a fullback dive. Alabama's got some hefty boys back there, so I thought that's what that was going to be, but not even a chance.
Here we go, going up first score. Now, this is where the conversation really gets interesting. We do play 2-minute quarters, which forces the players to adapt as quickly as possible. And more importantly, with 39 seconds left, we saw the Ravens with control of the ball at the top of the day. So they have to make something happen on this drive. If they're looking for a win, nice job breaking the tackle.
Shutdown.
And that goes back to, in something like Madden, you would expect that tackle to happen 9 out of 10 times. In college football, a little bit more difficult. But the Ravens need to make something happen in the next 35 seconds because they will be giving up the ball.
Yeah. Now, I think we just saw a potential. Let's see here. Let's see what type of formation they're going into. He's back. He's actually playing prevent within this cover 3, it looks like. So that's going to leave a little bit of coverage in the center of the field, potentially in the flats on particularly the right side. But, yep, here he goes. He's pushing to the right side, but he's controlling the defender, shutting it down, but he still goes for it. Couldn't have called that perfect. That was perfect.
This is why I wanted to see this matchup. These two players are willing to go shot for shot every single game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was great. That was great coverage though from the Blaze, getting in front of that receiver. It just so happens that there was another one open behind him. I mean, you couldn't ask for much more.
It's beautiful when you see the people in the league, players, be able to play the games they love. You see how many audibles and adjustments are happening before every play from both sides?
Yeah.
Trying to read the read.
Did he get it?
I think so, because it looks like he's on their 35. That was another beautiful play, lining up those two receivers to pull the defender out of the way, trying to cover the fly route going down.
And remember, this is college football too, so not the same rules as the NFL that you may be used to for those of you watching at home as Madden. With regards to how many feet you have to get in bounds, but the interception by the Blaze, he's going the other way.
And the game highlighted there.
I would have loved to see a cutback.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
It was so close. The opportunity to put some more points on the board, but that wasn't. You highlighted it was an interception.
Yeah.
But I want to highlight the game, even when it had such perfect user timed pick.
Yeah.
That was intentional by the side of the Blaze. They saw that play coming, and it almost feels like you mentioned their defense on that drive and how every single time Vape was finding the openings.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a trap setup, looking to run the same play that he just got beat by.
I mean, we're talking about it over and over. You can tell both of them really love the exact same offense and defensive formations. Maybe potentially you start leaning on man coverage more. Just try to mix it up because what they're doing right now, both of these teams are starting to get passed on after we saw those negative rushing yards.
Okay, so you asked it, so you mentioned it, so I want to ask. Why would man be better maybe in the situation that we're seeing here?
It depends on the quality of your defenders. Oh, that was a beautiful pass. This might be a touchdown. He cuts it to the end zone, but he gets caught up on his teammate. Oh, my God. That just...
We see the pancake. The boom. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. That's so open and so free. I can't hold. I don't
that perfectly. You said pancake, and I'm just seeing feet in the air. All right, here we go. We're on the 1 yard line. I'm assuming it's going to be a QB sneak, just like we saw last time. It sure is. Easy touchdown. Wow. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know?
And Milk Zolo has been asking all season to play this game, and I think we're starting to see why.
Yeah.
That was a dominating first half. I have to just be fair.
Yeah, it is.
Vape has been putting up a good defense and a good opportunity to stop him. The extra point.
Yeah.
We have seen some mixed extra points, so I always check back in just to be safe. You never exactly know.
Well, and you asked a second ago why man coverage might be beneficial, and I was going to respond. It depends on the quality of your defenders. So you can go man coverage and sort of play back, which allows your defenders to sort of make a read on. In real life, you would be making a read off of hip movement, right? Which way their hips are shifting. Are they going to break to the outside, break to the inside? If you're in zone coverage, you're only covering necessarily a zone. But if you have a strong defender, sometimes you can actually do press coverage. Just trying to figure out what's going on here. Give us a second for those of you watching.
My guess is going to be either a controller turned off or somebody pressed a button and didn't realize they pressed a button on a connected controller.
Onside kick by Ravens here.
I think Vape is feeling a little bit of the pressure, wanting to get this ball back and not just give it away. Let's see if he's able to find it and just dives on the ball there.
Not at all.
Don't do anything complicated. Keep it safe there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him, it's third quarter. I would have liked to have seen him, just have a little bit more faith in the defense right there, as opposed to giving him so much coverage, because now I can promise you Blaze are going to start passing all over him. They're at the halfback split formation, 3 wide receiver set. We've already seen this before. I want to see man press coverage from him. The other thing man coverage does, though, sometimes you can load up the box in the center of the field, which allows linebackers to make reads off of tight ends and that split halfback, so it keeps them in the center of the field to prevent something like that from happening.
That is important. Hey, everyone out in the league.
And he's just trying to drain time, it looks like.
Yes, and this is what the fear was, and I think why that onside kick happened. To specifically talk about it, the good NCAA Madden players in the league recognize what 2-minute quarters means, that you don't have a lot of time, and sometimes giving up a ball, whether it's good field position or not, could mean the end of the game.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the way he split off to the side there. So one of the things I just picked up on the Ravens, I don't know which player it is between Vape and, how do you pronounce?
Genghis.
And Genghis? Yeah, and Genghis. One of the players is pulling one of the safeties and or the linebacker up to the line of scrimmage to prevent the run, and it's leaving zone coverage wide open. Now, if you're going to control the linebacker in the center of the screen, you have to essentially read that halfback, which just happened right there.
It was don't you love when the literal thing you're describing happens? We see him move forward in the moment he commits to that outside step.
Yeah, you see him on Lawson right there in the center of the field. He's basically blitzing that gap, that center gap right there. Not only is he getting picked up, but then the actual halfback dive is going to the opposite side, and he's not able to shut it down, which leaves the center of the field wide open. But they're not even trying to get yards. He's trying to just drain clock right now.
And this is what's important here. He has the 50-50 go up by 3 scores or to just continue let that clock, as you highlighted here. So let's see if he's able to do this touchdown just to burn that much more time, or if he's just willing to say, hey, you got to score 3 times in 2 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
And I might have to let people
know.
There
we go. I like that.
To teams in the league, if you're looking for some help with college football, I might tell you to hit up Mob. Maybe you got to give you full credit. Your understanding, not just of quickly seeing that, seeing each one of those movements and seeing each one of these formations, are showing what you expect out of a college football player.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think right here, if you wanted to play, oh boy, is he just going to rub it in? He is. Oh, no. Not like this. It'd be like that. So what I was going to say is I think a little bit safer of a play right there would have probably been to actually knee the ball and then just to drain the clock and then simply go for a field goal to make it a 3-score game, because there are mechanics within the game that allow you to attempt a strip and then they could get a fumble, get the ball back, and then potentially just score twice in order to tie this thing up. So that would have been a safer run.
So we're going to go ahead and see the first forfeit used. This is something the Ravens are pretty used to doing. If a game gets to a point where it feels really unwinnable, they're not going to waste time with it. They're not going to think about it. Kind of what you mentioned before. They're going to move on and focus on what's the next game. Where can we find another win? And this is where we're able to see some of the beautiful play from that last game.
Oh, boy. The pancake. The pancake. Put some syrup on it.
Please.
That was great.
An opportunity. But again, that was just Milk Zolo showing why a lot of players in this league, legacy players, have spoken about him with high regard, especially when it comes to Madden and now college football. His strength in that game.
Yeah,
I can't argue with the results at the end of the day. He didn't just win; he felt like he was totally in control, even down to getting a pick when his opponent started to make some progress.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things I heard the moment I walked into the arena today. Obviously, I was going to be interviewing Vape. You guys saw that at the start of this. Was that the Blaze are really comfortable within sports games, and what you've seen in that, and particularly in that last match, is a level of understanding for sports strategy that is pretty exceptional right now. They know these specific formations. They were running that halfback 3 wide receiver split, sort of formation, and they were just drilling it. They were just drilling it over and over again. Whether or not that's the sort of current meta with NCAA is one thing, but it also might have been a direct counter to their opponent, right? Because during the start of the game, there was a couple of runs happening, and then there was negative yards unfolding, and then all of a sudden they're passing, and they're scoring, and we're seeing pancakes getting flipped, and that's the attitude, right? So great improvisation, if you will, from the Blaze in order to capitalize on that. I loved it.
It's immediately showing to me, I thought that the Sports would have been a closer matchup. Currently going up 2-0. I got to give the Blaze, as you said, credit.
Yeah.
And we have this third game going in. We know who's going in for the Ravens. They have to send those 3 in. They don't have that opportunity. But the Blaze will once again get the chance to pick. And we saw a very similar lineup with roller champions with Hollywood and Garto, but now they're choosing to bring Regine in with them to go ahead and jump in against these Ravens. NHL
is a whole other animal, but it's also similar to roller champions in the sense that there is a change of moment. Things aren't as, let's say, understandable from, just a human hand-eye coordination, just sort of basic level of understanding. We all been to recess in elementary school. We all played middle school sports or high school football, something along those lines. So we have a very basic understanding. There's a lot of people that have never played hockey in their life. There's a lot of people that have ice skated in their life. So an understanding of the actual movement of these players on the rink is completely different. And there's certain players that just excel in that, and others that just they find a hard time grasping it.
I think you hit it on its head perfectly. Even compared to every other sports game, I find movement in NHL is the hardest thing. Because, you take your eye off your player and you're like, wait, why am I drifting the opposite direction where I thought I was going? What is going on?
Yep.
And equally, I think the other thing that will translate here and may give us a little bit of a hint for some of those remaining sports games, 2K as well as FC, is how well they do passing here.
Yeah,
passing
that's a huge part of this. Yeah, couldn't have said that better myself. I love that. Yeah, it's a huge, huge part of this. Okay, here we go.
4 stars our next game. So finally moving out of that sports category into some of the racers.
Yeah.
And for everybody at home, the white jerseys are the Ravens and the black jerseys. They were red the last time we talked about them, but black this time. So fitting the other color of the Blaze.
Yeah. White jerseys, Ravens. We got black jerseys, Blaze. Here we go.
All right, let's see here. So Blaze with control of the puck. End up sending it back to their teammate. And fully willing just to be comfortable pulling the Ravens around the rink. They're looking to force the Ravens into a bad position and hopefully set up a 1v2 play, but the Ravens willing to commit together for wherever they're trying to move on. And a first shot of the day ends up going a little bit wide out of the rink. But you have to remember, in this game specifically, somebody's batteries are low is one thing that you need to remember. You might want to charge your controller.
Plug it in.
But more importantly, one thing that's specific in this game, every goalie has a stamina meter you see below it.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
And those shots will start to add up.
Yeah, and the more pressure that you can apply on that goalie is probably going to be the difference maker. And you guys watching at home will notice it in terms of the reaction of the goalie. Sometimes he'll sort of like stifle his ability to get up. He's not getting up as fast. He's not reacting as quickly. You're going to start noticing that a lot. The more these players sort of group up, or sort of collapse around the goalie a little bit, causing that stamina to drain. Now, it does look here like the Ravens are doing very well at passing. I love just sort of the backboard pass there. Sends it to center, but tries to do just a quick shot, and it gets blocked.
And now we're back in control with the Blaze trying to just get it off of their side of the rink and to have control. But the Ravens are now the aggressors. Are able to find a shot, but that's another one that the goalie for the Blaze has to defend. And you see that bar there, not full. He's starting to get worn out.
Yeah, and if any of you are curious, one of the things that I have definitely picked up on a lot, and specifically NHL 3v3s, because there is only 3 players, or I guess 6 players, right, on the ice at any given time. There's going to be a lot of poke checks as opposed to hip checks or just straight hit sticks, if you will, right, for those of us that grew up playing Blitz. But there's going to be a lot of poke checks that occur because if you're able to sort of get that poke check off, steal the puck from your opponent, you're also maintaining a lot of your speed on the ice in order for you to just sort of reverse around and pick up momentum, get in front of the opponent, and get that one-on-one with the goalie. You'll see that very frequently.
And we thought we had a moment there. Sometimes teams will lay on that puck, reset the entire state of the game. But it looks like the Ravens want to come back and attack again. Both sides are just looking for that first shot. They're trying to wear down these goalies. We only do play.
Ravens with a slap shot off the ollie. I love that.
It was a great awareness to bring the player up, sit in that extra space, and to find a quick goal.
Open ice, too.
Talking about the fact that we play 2 periods of NHL, but it looks like the Ravens just said, we'll handle this in 1. We'll make sure that we're starting to get up. And now we're on to a money puck, which is worth 2 points.
Yeah, it's all about positioning. You noticed on that, he's coming close here. Let's see if he can get it. He does it. They're just going to basically play this out. All right. There we go. Now, I was going to say, the Ravens, during that last one, the positioning was fantastic. He basically was open ice to the right of the goal, had no defenders on him, and that might just be a big mistake coming from the Blaze to leave someone so open that way.
So my question then on that front, do you think that, I guess this will be answered with the game, is that something that's explodable? Maybe one of the players, I have to look at Redain, not because I think he's bad, but because he's a rookie, he might be less familiar with this game compared to some of the other ones. And it looks like we have a few controllers. Maybe that controller that we saw was low. Possibly having a few, just trying to make sure everything is good and everything is getting put back together. So they are looking to make sure which controller is which. They're going to make sure everybody's on the right side. Just got to do a little bit of house cleaning.
Yeah.
So which team has impressed you now on NHL? Because we've now seen 2 of these sports games go the way of the Blaze, but at least NHL so far has been looking pretty Ravens favorite.
Right. So Ravens right now are obviously up. But in the same breath, I actually think that the Blaze are playing better with regards to their passing, and sort of they were out of position during that last game. And you mentioned what rookies within NHL will typically look like, and the common mistake that a lot of them make is not only are they out of position, but they're actually out of position for a specific reason because they want to be further up the ice in order to get a quick pass off of a steal to get a one-on-one with the goalie. That's what it looked like was occurring right there. Maybe they sort of reel that in. Sort of have faith within their defense and then utilize the synergy that they have to really just get a shot on the goal, right? It's going to come down to the shots taken, I think. And that doesn't mean it has to be pretty. You can get in there and basically get into a dirty boxing slugfest right around that goalie because you have a benefit of actually draining the stamina of the goalie. So the more shots on the goalie, the better. Later in the game, I promise you're going to get one of those goals. You just got to maintain that pressure.
You heard it here, and thank you for that message because I think covers. That's what I couldn't put my finger on. The idea that you can be playing well, but just one slip up can lead to a big opportunity. We almost saw it there.
Oh my goodness!
One of the Blaze were able to get through, but this money puck means the world for people at home. You can see underneath the score there in the top left an orange number. That is a money puck. That means this is worth 2. If the Blaze score it, they will take control of this game. But if the Ravens find another score, going up 3-0 with just 2.5 minutes left in this entire game will be difficult. That pass was beautiful.
Well, the Blaze, honestly, are in a really good position right now. Not only do they have a money puck, but right after this money puck is that ice puck, which will take a point away from their opponent. So either way, they're sitting pretty. This is where they got to apply that pressure that we just talked about, and they're doing it. They're doing it as we speak. But if you notice, the Blaze had one of their players behind the opponent's goal completely out of position like we just talked about. All right, now they've got a 3-on-2. Use that team synergy we talked. Oh,
it's so close. Each and every single one of these plays feels like any of these pucks can hit the backside of that net. And you were mentioning just one player out of position can weaken an attack.
Yeah.
That otherwise might be successful, but just not having that extra piece, that extra pass here. It looks like maybe they're choosing to, with Redain being on that green player, it looks like they're having the rookie play that defensive position now of just staying back.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a one-on-one. Blaze goalie. Oh, he doesn't get it.
He manages to get it back out.
Oh,
the Ravens still have control.
The Blaze had a player that was playing center ice when the puck is directly behind him. That's what I mean. He's trying to get out in front of his opponent before the puck is even there.
This is something really small that I would like to highlight to a lot of teams. I finally think your stronger players should be the defenders. They can transition a lot smoother onto this offensive side of the ice.
Yeah.
If you put one of the weaker players, they're looking to make a play, and it commits to block the puck, but it doesn't.
Ravens are playing dirty with the pass assist right now. I love seeing that. Yeah, I would say Ravens are doing a much, much better job of actually passing and getting sort of these assist points, if you will. They're taking a lot of assist shots on the goal, whereas I actually think the Blaze players right now are being way too selfish in terms of their actual puck play. One person will have the puck. Instead of letting the team get into position, they're just getting the puck stolen from them, as opposed to sort of setting up a play.
I think
pass it to your teammate.
Right there is the perfect highlight. We see Hollywood in the yellow standing while Gardo is getting swarmed by 2 players, and yet he doesn't end up throwing it back.
I love that. If you guys are curious in terms of the actual player and the color coordination of who these players are, take a look in the top left and the top right of your screen underneath the actual team names. Hollywood yellow, Guard blue.
Well, let's see. Is he able to do it? Now you have 2 people on you. Look, somebody has to be open for him to get rid of that puck as well. But this extra player staying back, the rookie now looking to step forward, is limiting their passing option, is limiting their offense.
Oh, look at the pass.
Back on defense.
Oh. Okay, this is a little bit of a one-on-one. Can he score? Oh, they finally got what they needed in terms of that one-on-one with the goalie, and they couldn't capitalize on it. Oh, my goodness. Whew.
That was really good NHL.
That was really good.
It came down to the final seconds. You finally got that one-on-one that you've been looking for all game. Fortunately, the goalie maybe wasn't as, to me, exhausted.
Yeah.
If I'm the Blazers goalie, I'm looking like, hey, can I get a moment, please? Can I just get a second to breathe and to stop? But here we go. We have a tied game going into Forza. Full lineup, but 3 players have to go in on the side of the Blaze Milk. Zolo, again, a veteran of the league, though he's kind of finally coming back into form after 2 or 3 games in, but these 2 rookies as well. So I want to see who everybody's able to get in. Now, importantly, everybody at home, you may have been paying attention to that setup timer. When we leave our it was formerly called the console area, but the gauntlet area, where we see a lot of fighting games and sports games and moving back to those PCs, the setup timer is 2 minutes instead of 4.
Okay.
You have to be on top of it. This requires someone, and both Garto as well as Hollywood were in that game, but someone being like, hey, get Forza up. What cars do you use? I don't have time to ask everybody what cars do you use. You need to make sure that those cars are in place and everybody's able to sit down and transition to this game because we got 50 seconds.
Yep, and one of the things I talked about yesterday is in terms of the car selection, different cars are going to be, you're going to manage different cars in a whole different manner from, say, a selection from your teammate. One of the examples that we saw yesterday during the Paladins versus the Bots was some of our players were choosing to run formula cars, which has great traction, obviously, when you're on the asphalt and, staying on track. But as soon as you get bumped off the road, and you're in the dirt, you're in the sand, and you have those formula tires, they are not gripping anything. So in terms of the time penalty that's being allocated to the user, formula cars may not be your best bet if you think you're going to be getting into some bumping.
I want to see here. Hollywood has traditionally played that, and this is indicative of the entire league. I think that's where you see racers 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Racers, for lack of a better way, if I don't ever get pushed off the course, I'm fine, right? So it doesn't matter as long as I don't make a mistake. So you see players willing to commit to those, where I think some of the other players are a little bit more aware of what you're talking about, being like, I don't take every turn perfect. I might need a little bit of traction just to get back in place. We see Napkin. As you can see at home, if you're ever wondering who we are watching, on that right side of your screen, you'll see a camera lit up in color and Blaze Blue being the next game on the wheel. But most specifically, you'll see him lit up right now, so we will be on his perspective.
Okay, here we go.
He comes out early.
Already with the aggression. The disrespect is uncanny right now.
This is one way that you will see players, unfortunately, sometimes learning the hard way that I'm not just going to drive a racing line if I can bump you off track, kind of as you hinted before. No problem. Now, I am a little bit happier with the map selection here. It's a simpler map, a more straightforward map that does allow, the driving to be a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a little bit of, there we go. We got a spin out right there. A little bit of Ricky Bobby slingshotting going on here as these teammates, as they come across their teammates and they decide to implement strategies of sort of maybe trying to put a little bit of pressure on your opponent. They're all on the track at the same time. Given the simplicity of the actual track, it opens up the opportunity for you to make more contact plays, if you will, or just sort of, I guess, putting the pressure, pinning an opponent up against the wall. Ooh, just barely missed that.
Ravens player spins out and loses control of that first place finish, now giving control of this race to 2 of those Blaze players.
Yeah. Now, we did talk about the formula cars. We see one of those on our screen right now. Given this track, I actually think the formula cars are going to have a bit of an advantage, depending on how aggressive these players play.
Ooh, don't bump your teammate. They came in a little bit fast. Yeah, I was looking at that, and I think you're on point. You mentioned that the off-road possibilities are the dangerous moments for those cars, and so picking something like this that's maybe, you're not going to be hitting the grass unless you take too close of an inside turn.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difference maker. A lot of these players want to take as close of an inside turn. They want to get as wide as possible before the turn actually occurs in order to make the turn very, very tight while maintaining a very high speed. The problem with that,
Shout out to the rookie Weeping Jade here.
Wow.
There was no one even in his rear.
Not even, I was going to say, no one's even close.
Map. He's done.
Whew.
Signed, sealed, delivered. We see.
Who are we watching right here?
Flying Kittens.
Flying Kittens, one of our youngest competitors, correct?
Yes.
I love that.
Ends up coming across the line. I'm really excited to see, though. I also want to see shooters from today, and Flying Kittens and this Ravens team I know want to play it. Blaze always want to as well. We see Genghis now coming in. Importantly, the big point, and the reason why I think this level might see a little bit more use, Genghis with a 4-second penalty.
Wow.
They're wondering what ended up happening.
Yeah, 4-second penalty could potentially come from just running off the track, bumping other cars or what have you. Could have taken a turn a little bit too close. And what I was going to say was, you could take a sort of that wide angle into a turn in order to maintain that speed and momentum. The problem there is if you have an opponent that's already on the inside turn, what are you going to do, right?
It ends up being scary, and I'm a little bit worried that Pastor Herb, this is the owner of the Ravens, and I mean, in a lot of people's eyes, the original in-gamer there, being the last player on his team to get across that finish line is not something that I would have expected.
Yeah.
We're going to see here, we're going to see who goes ahead and gets the points for that. Everybody finished, which is that first.
That's good.
That first litmus test.
If you don't finish, it's not looking good.
I noticed that Speedy, I think, mentioned to you yesterday about the penalty for not finishing. It's legitimately the first thing I would tell most players.
Good pick up on that, by the way. That was pretty good.
Oh yeah. Just let you know. At the end of the day,
he's playing and he's listening. Okay.
Yeah. I'm doing my best to. Y'all killed it out
That's
here.
impressive, man. I like that.
Players have to be able to just get across that finish line before anything else. That was a victory going on over the way to the Blaze, but this makes me want to highlight a question of the day. These tier ones, you asked me about a player, Hollywood, was that on the other side? It is KIC. And you hear KIC, the Ravens, 2 wins. He's been a part of both of them. And Hollywood having gone 1-1 in sports. We saw him win Roller Champs, and then obviously that NHL game did not go his way. So both sides relatively close now.
Yeah.
We'll see as this game continues to grow and to expand who's going to be able to take the league. Blaze Blue CF coming up next. I have to believe that KIC is going in, and Napkin, the rookie, might get an opportunity to show his stuff.
Well, I don't want to jinx it because I know we want to see it, but we haven't had a shooter yet. Which between Hollywood and, is it KIC?
Yeah.
KIC. Which of them do you think are more exceptional when it comes to shooters?
In the context of I have to be very careful. And this is why I say I have to be very careful. A lot of people at home know. Prior to the league, I've known KIC for like a decade. I have been one of his biggest shout out players, but I think in the UEL building, Hollywood has the results to back up.
I respect that.
Everything. Every single time Hollywood steps in this building, even down to genres he doesn't normally play, he is the playmaker that's willing to make that big play and sometimes create magic. And so there's a lot of shoes I want to see, a lot of exceptional talent, but I got to put money on Hollywood generally across the board. KIC's actually not been looking as good as, and his team in general hasn't been looking as good as shooters as expected. They look good against the Paladins, but kind of as you saw, I think, last night, Paladins aren't the strongest shooting team in the league. They're the strongest shooting team in the league. So winning against the Paladins and winning against the Blaze, 2 very different stories.
Yeah.
I want to see them come out here and prove if they want to be considered really strong shooters, they need to be able to do that. I mean, they have other shooters on that team. Fortnite roles, we're going to be on Flying Kittens. You mentioned him being a young player. He will show you exactly why people historically just go ahead and forfeit that game. If you know you don't know you can beat them, you probably can. And then Valorant should be good as well. I think Valorant will be good.
And we talked a little bit yesterday when the Paladins started getting behind the bots. We had a little bit of a conversation with regards to forfeit management, right? Sort of managing that forfeit game economy, if you will. If there's games that you're really confident that you're going to lose, don't waste the time. Try to make up for that loss at a different time. Now, we have not just shooters, we also have not a single fighting game yet. So there's a lot to be played right now within the 5 different genres that we have here in UEL, 33 different games. I know we're going to start rolling some fighters and some shooters. Where do these two teams stand with regards to fighting?
This is where I'm able to have a little bit of fun. As a big fighter here in the league, the Ravens have historically been one of the top fighting teams, always. And you're looking at their top 3 right now to solidify that. KIC and Herb and Flying Kittens should be able to beat most players in the league in fighting games. On the opposite side, that is truly a weak point for the Blaze. Napkin is a rookie they drafted for fighting games. Beyond that, you have to look at Hollywood and Gardo to step up in various games, but they're not, I would say, all-encompassing. This is an anime fighting game where a lot of craziness is coming in. So I can tell you right now, on the left side of your screen, on that player one side, is KIC, and on the right side is Napkin on the Kokanoe. So these two players are crazy. You asked for a shooter, and you
there we got him.
with Overwatch. KIC, importantly, clutched out their game against the Paladins last week in this game. But more importantly, he's fighting a Kokanoe player. So these two characters, to break it down, KIC's character now on the right side of your screen with the big sword has huge normals, huge buttons
absolutely.
that
Looks
cover
like it.
a ton of space. Where on the other side, fighting the Kokanoe, this character is incredibly tricky, able to set up a ton of different mix-ups using these gravity pulls that pull you back and forth across the screen. Once again, knowing Cassie, he did actually go ahead, and I know he's had some Kokanoe practice this week, maybe recognizing, and the good fighting game players, we know who everybody plays, and so we're going to seek out matchup experience. And you see how comfortable he seems to be right here, keeping him in the corner, continually putting on pressure. Napkin, you wanted to show out in fighters, and today is going to have to be the day because you are fighting one of the best the UEL has.
Almost just sort of frame trapping him there in the corner. The level of pressure, the maintenance of pressure, and he's almost continuing it, but he breaks sort of out of it, utilizes some zoning tools, and he's going right back to this classic almost pattern of behavior of just getting him trapped. He's utilizing the range of that giant sword that you talked about, maintaining combos, going for highs, going for lows, solid blocking though coming out, given the fact that he's incorporating what seems like a little bit of mix-ups, but he gets caught.
And
this could be it if he's able to maintain that pressure. He's trying to jump out of it, playing off his back foot.
And he finishes with the super, going ahead and taking this first game. Now, Blaze was a little bit different than some of our other games in that you play a full set of 3 games. Here to find the winner. So he takes the first one, importantly. But this lets fighting game players adapt. KIC showing that this season, aggression is the name of the game. You have to be the one controlling the pace of the game. You cannot let your opponent be making you, as you said, block highs, lows, left, right, throws, whatever might be happening. And we're right back into it with KIC taking full control of this game.
Utilizing
got
that
the
range.
burst, by the way, from Napkin. So Napkin has no way to escape this pressure anymore.
Yeah, none whatsoever. A little bit of the Halloween themes going on in the background as well. Happy Halloween, everybody watching. But he's going to continue to just maintain that pressure. Now, is this similar to other fighters in the sense that they do have mix-ups? There's low strikes, highs, overheads, things of that sort?
Yes. And being an anime fighter, what makes them what makes anime fighters like this most different, this Dragon Ball Z, which we have on our wheel, is the pace. You're noticing they're moving back and forth on the ground in the air a lot quicker, constantly threatening those mix-ups. That's what you'll see compared to a Street Fighter or a Tekken, that you have to have that lightning-fast reaction that you mentioned, because you don't have the same amount of time to react to whatever is happening in a moment. But we're seeing Napkin finally start to get some offense, but just as quick as it starts, it looks like he's back in the blender presented by KIC, and he's constantly putting this pressure on, canceling out there, continuing it up, and you tried to press a button, you tried to move, and this is the end of the game with one more combo. KIC more than ready. You see him jump up there. This is one of those big moments. KIC, I mentioned him being a fiery player, being a fighting game player. Also just a great trash talker. As someone that's known him, he's going to win, and then he's going to start talking trash. Don't let it get to you. Like, all right, cool, he got this one. We got to move on to the next one because Overwatch is coming up. And KIC is one of those players that I know they would normally want to have go ahead and have for it. Now, let me know, what do you want to see out of Overwatch? You were asking for a shooter, and we found it.
Oh, boy. Okay. Overwatch, when it comes to Overwatch, I think some of the lack of positioning that we were seeing from Blaze in NHL, right? I know it's a sports game, completely different kettle of fish. But the lack of team synergy that we were noticing in that might come into play when it comes to the compositions of Overwatch characters, okay? In terms of the abilities and the utility of each of these different legends, if you will, that are within Overwatch, or heroes is what they're called in Overwatch, depending on their utility, that'll be what is the difference maker throughout the entire game. So if they're not communicating with each other, if they're playing too aggressive, if their DPS, which is typically your fragger that is on the team, if he's not getting the picks, at what point do things start to crumble? At what point do you maybe switch things up a little bit, right?
I'm going to tell you that we've had a Band-Aid for that as well this season in the form of goats. Unfortunately, 3 tanks, 2 healers. If I can't die, then I can just deal damage. That's something that we've seen a lot of this season. And I believe we have some word from the floor coming in from AV. AV, what's going on out there?
Well, I got about 30 seconds. But anyway, watching that Blaze Blue, KIC specifically said, tell TK Bad Moon, this is the man that you thought that I was going to lose to Napkin? Nah.
Okay, so
nah, that's all I wanted to say, but I got enough time to say it. So thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. So this is what I was alluding to. He sought out some practice. My former teammate also plays the character that Napkin plays. Has played it since the game came out 10, 12 years ago. They were running some sets earlier this week. So again, some foresight. I kind of was like looking at it and I was like, oh yeah, he realized that that pressure exists. And Valorant coming up next, you can see them being excited and ready to
Look at the excitement.
KIC is going in for this game.
Here we go.
Okay, we'll go ahead and see here with Valorant being the next game following up. I want to highlight both these teams are running 6-man lineups as well. We mentioned the disconnect because of DBD.
Yeah.
The benefit of 6-man lineups is you're getting more reset, so you're able to get those key players into their positions a lot more often. And so I think the ability we already saw he had a 2-0 record, 3-0 record now. They want to keep KSC in these games whenever possible to be able to put some pressure on. But we see Weeping Jade, another one of the rookies from the Blaze here, playing the Juno.
Yeah, this is interesting. You could tell that, who is this that particularly that we're watching at the moment?
Weeping Jade.
Okay, so Weeping Jade, you can tell, is relatively experienced at Overwatch. The way that he was kicking over the railings right there, that's a really subtle cue that this person is, for lack of a better term, a sweat. He wants an absolute clear line of sight in order to just put out damage in order to basically aid his teammates as much as possible. And you're always going to see that by simply just knocking down the railings like that. But here we go. We have an Orisa in the front, sort of taking a little bit of that damage. We got some shields popping out. There is a Soldier 76 that's maintaining the high ground. His main goal is to be basically to launch those grenade launchers, put out as much damage as possible, utilize that healing pool to keep himself he's basically the mosquito in this net. He wants to be an absolute nuisance, agitate the opponents, and basically just be sort of the key to victory because they have to turn around and look up at him in order to get him out and start pushing this payload forward. So he's their biggest problem.
And I'm hearing comms to us from the floor.
There we go.
The Ravens, you mentioned it in NHL where Ravens found that win, that maybe the coordination was going to be on their side. And look at how quickly they've taken these first couple of turns, forcing the Blaze to back off. Now, key, Weeping Jade has been managing to stay alive and to keep up and moving, finally going down, but the entirety of Blaze now has been wiped out.
Yeah, and the Soldier 76, like we mentioned, was the first person dead on that team. Had he stayed up, or maybe if they had a composition that sort of aided him a little bit more, that would have been more beneficial. But obviously, the second that the Soldier 76 died, everything collapsed around them, and they were able to sort of push up this field, if you will. Now, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is going to be difficult in terms of just maintaining this health. Sort of the heals per second is a little bit more difficult here. I would have liked to have seen a different healer sort of come out as opposed to this composition.
All right, so you mentioned it. I heard this during that first push with that Soldier 76.
Yeah,
there was a comm of the Ravens saying, "Hey, soldiers up there. Somebody has to deal with it."
Yeah,
and again on the team they said, "You deal with it."
Yeah,
this like specifically, you notice it, deal with it. That's that synergy, that teamwork that you were looking for.
The trust.
In this case, we were talking about the Blaze needing it, but the Ravens displaying, hey, we've pushed them back around the corner. They have a man up there by himself. Yeah, he's annoying, but if we just step up and kill him, they're down a player and now already pushed back beyond that second checkpoint, trying to fight back to it.
Yeah, that's very true. We'll see as they sort of push around this corner. There's a lot. It's a little bit more close quarters, but the fact that they're able to get heals off from a distance like this, particularly on their Reinhardt, I love the fact that the Reinhardt's sort of getting up in their face right now, but a great ult. Not enough heals per second potentially to keep him there, and now he's going to back up. Soldier 76, not enough to stay in the game. They're trying to get sort of what's called stagger picks at the moment. You don't want those players staying up, so the opposing team is going to rush way past the payload in order to stagger their spawn points, delaying that much more time before they can come to the payload with a full composition.
It's difficult to watch right now. I think part of this is coming down to, I mentioned that traditionally in the league, Goats has become that playstyle. You see an Orisa, a Mauga, as well as a Zarya with those couple of healers. And it just looks like their survivability, the soldier isn't able to do enough to break through that wall.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. You could go for something a little bit more close quarters. I mean, you're also getting the extra aid of the Soldier 76 heal. He's popping his ult. His ult is out, but is it going to be enough? Something tells me he's going to get snatched up, and he does. Another complete team wipe.
So I'm going to bring up a point you brought up about forfeit economy. Seeing this on your defense, are you considering already forfeiting this game and not even looking to attack on this map? Maybe willing to say, like, hey, if this is how we're looking on defense, are we going to be able to contend with their defense?
I would say no. Just because a team is sort of steamrolling, if you will, a popular term just sort of used, that doesn't mean that your team can't steamroll. They're almost finished here, but they're sort of staying up. These microseconds that you're seeing pass by right here, that they're contesting the payload, it's not going to be enough, and they actually do cap it. Now, although that was quick, I don't want you guys at home thinking that this match is over, because it isn't. But they did that very, very quickly. They basically have to steamroll in the same fashion. It's harder to play sort of off your back foot on defense in this game, particularly just on this particular map, because there is a lot of rotation routes. It just depends on the top fragger for the opposing team. Whoever's outputting damage, if we're able to get those clutch picks, we see a diva selection here. Whoever's able to get those clutch picks is going to make the difference. If they're not getting the picks that they need, you just don't have the time on your hands, right? You don't have the time available. So it's got to be fast. We're going to know probably within the first 30 seconds of this next round whether or not they're going to have enough time, because that was pretty consistent movement on the payload.
And it looks like they did make an adjustment. No more Soldier 76 here on the offense. They are now opting into that GOAT composition.
Yeah,
the Diva
and I like the
instead of what the Ravens were running. So you say you liked it?
I do like the Lucio. I think what the Lucio may be able to do is, number one, if you are getting picked, you're going to get back to the payload a little bit quicker with his speed boost. But I also like the AoE heals of him and the let's break it down, if you will, right? You can do that on top of the payload, in particular if you're trying to play very aggressive on it. You see the Roadhog selection, so they're going to be playing close quarters. And then being just a harder target to hit with the wall running and everything else, that might be a pretty good swap, to be honest.
Okay. So here we go. Let's see if it was just a matter of, being a stronger offensive team than a defensive team. Lucio's already almost dead as they pop out of the room, and now we see these tank players trying to step forward and buy their squishies a little bit more space.
The problem here is they're not outputting enough damage. The Roadhog isn't doing enough. It's not necessarily his fault. He's just not doing enough. The Diva's trying to aid him and assist him as much as she can with that sort of Diva matrix of basically blocking any type of incoming damage. Diva's already out. The players in the arena are yelling the fact that Diva's outside of her mech. They're going for the kill. They're actually not focusing on her. There we go. They got her down. And like I said, Lucio's still up. Lucio's still up because of the mobility of the character. That's why I actually believe that pick was pretty solid. It's just a matter of fact that the Roadhog's not doing enough damage. He's got to be able to land his shots and finish this thing out. He's got to get the picks. There we go. He lands one of those. Oh, I don't think he did, actually.
I think he unfortunately might have hit either Zarya Bubble or Orisa Fortify. Unfortunately, even hitting the hook sometimes isn't going to be enough.
No.
Going into these tanks, they do have ways to mitigate you pulling them in, but they're finally to the payload, and maybe now they can start getting their push going.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult, though, because they've already contested the payload much, much more than they did, right? And Roadhog not being able to get those hooks in is going to be the difference maker because, like I said, he's going to be your top fragger. He's going to be the one that basically causes the entire defense to collapse. I love this late push by Diva in the backline. Now, as they turn around to get this Diva as she jumps out of her mech, that's where the rest of his team has to capitalize, utilizing a little bit of cover here on the curb. As the rest of them push through, they finally have won a team fight, and now this payload is moving.
I want to give so much credit there to the rookie. Jade found his moment. Slipped around. Managed to get in that backline, disrupt, and notice he popped out a mech, and by the time his animation finished, his entire team was rounding the corner to defend him.
And that was great. I want to say there was a little bit of communication there. I couldn't tell if it was just kind of synergy. The fact that they're actually keeping their the composition about them, not sort of giving up. They're keeping that winner's mentality, pushing this payload. Just goes to show that they're not giving up. Diva now jumping right back into her mech, again running up to aid the Roadhog. That allows the Roadhog to sort of poke out a little bit from cover, utilize that hook, try to get closer. Orisa may be going down.
I think the
their result was used. It wiped out with a quad. With an absolute quad.
And I think, unfortunately, in that huge play, what ended up happening is you gave Genghis the biggest present he could possibly want, which is standing in the middle of your team with an ult.
Yeah, absolutely. Orissa's playing really well. One of the things I'm noticing from the Orisa player is she's playing up onto the payload, utilizing the cover of the actual mobile payload. So when that payload gets near certain doorways or certain gates, not only can you just rotate around the payload, but you can also dip into a side room. You can dip behind a wall. The Orisa's playing that perfectly, and you saw it there with a quad. D.Va throwing the mech in. The mech only gets 1 kill, but it is on the Orisa player. That's going to allow Hollywood to pick up the Zarya. Now they're applying some pressure. Reinhardt comes through with the shoulder check all the way down the street, too.
It's beautiful. That front line finally fell, and they're able to make progress. Hit this
is great.
This first checkpoint, buy themselves a little bit more time to continue to push forward.
Whew. Now they do have to move this quick though. They do have to move this really quick. Reinhardt whiffs the shoulder check. He might have just kind of been going up there to sort of play the corner. I like the way that D.Va's playing this, getting a little bit of poke, but they are getting healed pretty much directly through it. Now D.Va's almost out of there we go. I was gonna say D.Va's risking a little bit too much right now. Now she's pulled back. I like the way that they're sort of playing around the column here on this ramped staircase. That's very good. Now, this is tight quarters. This is where your Reinhardt needs to step it up while D.Va goes for the flank. This is a great flank. They need to communicate with each other to get the Reinhardt up front and center right now. The Reinhardt picks up a kill just like we talked about.
Both healers. If you have turn to just survive on their own, you can't stay up as a tank if you have nobody healing you. The damage floods out. And once again, this is the second time he has found a play like that to continue to enable his team's push, continue to allow them to march forward and to have a chance to play another round.
Wow, this is actually really, really satisfying to watch coming out of Blaze, just because we talked about a little bit of their team synergy earlier in some of the sports games, and they're starting to click right now, but unfortunately the Reinhardt gets poked up too far. They're trying to get the payload.
They just want to hit the checkpoint.
I know!
They're one step away.
I respect the Reinhardt play, but I think he was a little overzealous. This is going to be a team wipe. I'd like to see them play back here, because what's happening is these stagger picks that we talked about. Now D.Va's out of her mech. Oh, no. See the way they sort of delayed the kill on that D.Va. Now they have to wait for the respawn.
They are aware that there's a minute and 30 seconds left on the ability of the Blaze to push and to hold on this game. Every single one of those seconds is going to matter, because now Jade has to fly as fast as he can back to his team.
The Lucio should come back and maybe even grab her. The fact that they do have a Lucio means that they can get to that payload quickly. It's just a matter of, it'd be interesting. The D.Va's got to get the flank off. She does. Goes through the same window as before. A popular strategy. The Orisa's down. Lucio picks up a kill. Now the D.Va's basically just trying to get into the face of the healers.
And it looks like KIC turning around on the Zarya. They're trying to deal with this D.Va, but now they're trying to back up. But guess what?
Picks are coming out. They may get this. They may get this. They got it. Wow.
2 minutes, one more checkpoint.
2 minutes. Here we go. Was not expecting this. For you guys watching at home, get hype. We may have a little bit of an upset coming on here.
Okay, let's see. I couldn't have predicted that. I was like, okay, that first push, left a lot of desire, but they finally got their feet under them.
Yeah.
And I really have to believe a lot of it is off the back of Weeping Jade, a rookie stepping up here and finding his team those opportunities.
Oh, here comes the D.Va ult. They're basically, wow, I cannot believe that D.Va ult got somebody from downtown. Reinhardt again with a solid pick. That D.Va ult was clutch, because that's one of their healers down, and now they're starting to crumble. Lucio utilizing that mobility around the payload. Wow, what are we watching?
So importantly in that fight, what happened is the D.Va found the Moira. He found a healer. Even if he lost his life, it meant that his team had the ability to fight and continue.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Backdiving the Moira again. Not only has he gotten one Moira, but he's going after the second healer right there next to the Zarya. Pushing up on the Orisa. I'd like to see her abandon the attack on any of the tanks on the field. Get these squishy characters. They can't get this D.Va outside of her mech. If they do not kill this D.Va, that's going to be the difference maker. I guarantee it. Reinhardt with an easy pick just continues to swing as they jump around the payload.
They're still fighting.
The fact that they don't have D.Va is absolutely criminal right now.
The mech is back up. I don't know how she survived.
Oh
and I
my gosh.
The Ravens don't know how they made it to this point. But it's
the Moira's the only one left. That's going to be, I don't want to jinx it. The clutch coming in right now. They're jiving back onto the payload. Great composition right now. The fact that they were able to settle their nerves and get back to this payload is absolutely huge. They have to get the damage output on these 2 tanks. The problem here is if you decide to avoid the healers are basically keeping them up.
And
there's 2 kills coming out.
At this point, that last fight,
and they managed to
complete it. I want to highlight that play by Weeping Jade at the very end there. He found, first and foremost, the Moira, but his pressure had forced the Zarya to pull all the way back to the Ravens healers. And now the Zarya's not bubbling the Mauga. It's not bubbling the Orisa. His team's not able to step forward. No, they have to slowly lose space, step by step, and just try to hold on. I think the Ravens had to believe on that first turn, that first fight, that they had this game in the bag.
Yeah, the fact that they had them sort of stifled at the beginning of that was really interesting. What I love to see is we talked about a couple of these heroes coming out. Between the D.Va and between the Lucio, it played into their team composition exactly how we thought it was going to. The AoE heals, the mobility of Lucio to sort of mitigate that incoming damage to stay alive. I mean, basically D.Va was just diving the back of their composition over and over again, taking out healers. Well, in Lucio's case, he's basically just jumping around everywhere, making it very difficult for him to get out, which allows you to maintain those heals. That probably is one of the more underrated sort of difference makers that maybe we're not talking enough about.
Hey, see, this is why I love Overwatch. Overwatch is a beautiful game because it's we see, you see the ultimates, you see the shots, you see the beautiful play, but it's the subtle things that sometimes turn the tide of a team fight. Now, importantly, we've seen both teams win on attack, but the Blaze are the ones that are going to go ahead and get the attack for the tie. Out here, but they only have 52 seconds. They don't have the same room to make any mistakes as they did on the last.
That's true. Now, one of the things that I find really interesting right here, did they have a Bastion out on the field right now? Did they change their composition?
They might have felt that they weren't able to get through these front. And we see it again.
The dive in the back. This is amazing. And who is this that we're watching again?
We're still watching Weeping Jade.
Yeah, Weeping Jade is playing exceptionally well. We're keeping it locked in here on Weeping Jade. This is awesome.
He has now, every single time I'm like, he can't keep getting away with it.
Yeah.
He cannot keep finding a healer by themselves on the back line to enable his team to come forward. And yet, time and time again, he does it, gets back in the mech, and is, guess what, off to do it again.
Diving the back line, just like we talked about. There needs to be a call-out. There absolutely needs to be a call-out by these Ravens to sort of counteract this. This is D.Va. They're calling it out. You guys may not be able to hear it, but we're hearing it in the stadium. The Ravens are yelling at the fact that they haven't taken out D.Va. Now they've taken her out. Lucio still up, utilizing that mobility. I want to see the Lucio get back to spawn because if he gets stagger picked,
this is it. This overtime timer is done.
Yeah. There we go. That's why.
And so this is the one reality of as good and as amazing as that Blaze push was, they didn't steamroll in the same way. And you hit this, which means in contrast now, the Ravens are going to have somewhere along the lines of 3 or 4 minutes to take their time, where they had 52 seconds. 52 seconds of time to try to push forward. So even if the Ravens make a mistake or two, they have the opportunity to just push their way in and to find a victory.
Yeah, they can sort of shift strategy in the middle of the round. They've got sort of the time for it. I think they
4:59.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They have basically a whole second round.
Yeah.
To be able to go up here and try to end, but they found it. They found their opportunity. They found their opportunity. So the Blaze, I can't count them out. I
not at all.
I was asking you about a possible forfeit when the Blaze looked, I think, to me and said, the game's not over. Why are you talking about forfeiting anything?
Yeah, that's very true. And we did mention right before this match started, basically your forfeit economy, right? Like you have a certain number of forfeits. You guys can see that at the top of your screen. Both teams have 5. And you might be thinking, why would you want to give up a game? Why would you want to give up a score? Well, there's a time limit to these matches. You can see that there's 2 hours and 44 minutes left of game time in this match between the Blaze and the Ravens. Maybe you just take the forfeit in order to get a better selection for your team to start racking up wins in that category. That was what I think we were sort of thinking about after that first round, but I love the way that Blaze have sort of, kept their heads together and really given them a run for their money.
It's amazing because what this brings up is last last game the other night, it was 6-3 around halftime.
Yeah.
We have played 3 less games, which shows maybe just how close and how inch for inch, how down to the wire each and every single one of these games is going. The Ravens have now reached the payload, and we see KIC going down.
Nice.
And it looks like that steamroll we saw previously isn't happening. And notably, they don't have a soldier, up on the balcony by himself that ends up getting picked. So maybe realizing that, hey, we just need to switch up. We made a mistake. We took a risk, and we ended up getting punished.
Hey, and you know what? They're down to 4 minutes. You shaved off almost like a minute of time now. I don't like this. I was going to say, if Reinhardt went deep into their coverage there, that was going to be a huge mistake. But he's got the heels behind him. He's playing the column there on the corner. Environmental awareness and utility is very important right now.
I'm going to highlight for you. It's not just on Diva. He somehow found a way to kill Vape on the Moira. As the Reinhardt just there. And once again, pick off a kill.
Oh, solid! Oh, coming out of the Reinhardt. Oh, no. I want to see him finish with them. Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine if he got that?
It's so beautiful. Weeping Jade, the rookie here stepping up. I'm happy we're watching him because, again, I think he's just finding these moments.
Yeah.
He's finding these opportunities. He's finding the picks that need to happen while still being this frontline tank. And as a tank player and a big fan of just solid tank play, I have to be happy with what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and he looks so calm and collective. You guys can see him in the top right-hand or in the right-hand corner of your screen. The fact that he's staying in the same position, he has faith in his team that they're going to keep him up. He's utilizing his shield effectively well. This is a little worrisome. The fact that they've actually now gotten up around the corner. Reinhardt's going to go down here in a second, but he tried getting the shoulder. He couldn't. This might be the turning point.
Okay.
They're right there.
They end up killing Hollywood, and while not on Diva, looks like they took a page. The Ravens took a page out of the book from the Blaze. I saw them flanking the healers, pushing the healers back. Finally, taking that same angle, those same angles that the Blaze won with ended up being their downfall there. A great game